What on earth could be leading the international papers? Could it be there's an election, isn't there?
Yeah, I think there might have been.
Yeah.
FBI head clears Clinton on emails, reads the front page of the Wall Street Journal. And this, of course, is the story that's dominating the American press today. We read that no new evidence has been found to warrant charges against Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton stemming from her use of a private email server while in government. So this is, of course, great news for the Clinton campaign. But the announcement just over a week ago that a new batch of emails were being investigated likely played, we read here, an important role in slashing Clinton's mid-October 11-point lead to just 4 points on Sunday. They're citing the Wall Street Journal NBC News poll there.
Clinton, she's not the only one, though, is she, to be damaged by that renewed investigation?
So a lot of papers are seizing on the fact that the FBI's role in this presidential race has tarnished both the reputation of the organisation and of its director, James Comey. We read in the Washington Post that the agency, traditionally the symbol of square-faced rectitude, has now firmly implicated itself in the corrosive narrative of the election, especially considering the long-standing practice by the agency not to do anything in the final days of an election that may influence the outcome. So the FBI investigation may be closed, we read here, but the partisanship around it remains very much alive.
Let's move to a piece now in the Charlotte Observer, based in North Carolina, the battleground state, of course, that really is central to both candidates' final push. We've got Clinton and Trump. They're going to be campaigning in the state just before the polls open.
They will. There's a very interesting piece here about a surge in early voting in the state, a state that is particularly crucial to Trump. Opinion polls currently have him lagging behind Clinton in the state by a couple of percentage points. A record 3 million North Carolinians have already voted, and the two groups eliciting the most attention are the unaffiliated voters, whose early voting numbers have jumped, and African Americans, whose numbers have actually fallen by 69,000 since the last election. And while, of course, that doesn't look great for the Democrats, a large proportion of the unaffiliated voters are millennials living in urban areas. And they tend to be a demographic that votes more Democrat than Republican.
And then, of course, there are the Hispanic voters, aren't there, which are key here in this state and right across the country as well.
Yes, about 85%, a huge proportion of Hispanic voters are Democrats or unaffiliated. And the Washington Post is predicting a historic turnout. This piece outlines how the Democrats have been deploying new voter outreach strategies, capitalising on the fear provoked by Trump's incendiary rhetoric against minorities and, of course, his promise to deport hundreds of thousands of undocumented workers, many of them Hispanic, of course.
Now, keeping with Trump's widely documented xenophobia, Haxie's found a piece in London paper Metro that draws rather an alarming parallel, depending how you look at it, of course, between Trump's campaign and UKIP's pro-Brexit campaign.
Yeah, we read here that in a new Republican video, released just days before people go out to vote, of course, entitled Trump's Argument for America, we see footage of hundreds of people walking across a road as Trump complains of massive illegal immigration. But the images aren't from the US, they're not even from Mexico, they're actually from Hungary. And they show refugees leaving Syria, and they're in Budapest. So it's hard not to remember the UKIP ad before the Brexit vote, insisting that the UK was at breaking point, that the EU had failed the UK, set against a picture of a stream of people. But again, this picture was not a picture taken in the UK. It was, in fact, taken in Eastern Europe.
Now let's move on to news that US-backed Kurdish and Arab forces have begun a long-anticipated offensive against Raqqa, the Islamic State group's de facto capital in Syria.
Yes, in this article in the Wall Street Journal, we read that the battle was launched after a delivery of weapons and ammunition from the US-led international coalition, and that the fight to isolate Raqqa could take weeks or even months. It analyses just why Raqqa is so important to the jihadists, namely because it's home to the group's almost state-like institutions. For example, Raqqa contains a court of appeal, if you will, that rules on cases that were appealed in other Syrian towns under IS control.
we just got time to talk about something a little bit lighter at the end of the press review, that if is anything about the US election can be said to be light.
Yes, there's a nice piece in the New York Times that brings together examples of a number of companies that have decided to capitalise on what we could call general frustration in the face of a rather dirty presidential campaign. Hefty, which is a bin bag manufacturer, has been releasing website adverts that read, "This political ad has been trashed thanks to Hefty," while Excedrin, which is a painkiller, has been offering its drugs as an antidote to what it's been pushing as the debate headache, an ailment particular to the election season, I think.
Okay, actually, thank you very much. There you go. I just thought it on the end there.